The young couple had just moved into their new home when they noticed something shocking. The neighbors across from them never closed their curtains, and right in front of their eyes, the man and woman started having passion. This sight made Thomas excited, and he couldn't help commenting on how strong the man's body looked. Out of a sense of morality, both of them stopped watching. But Pippa was still stirred by what she had seen. She sprayed on perfume, changed into beautiful nightwear, and wanted to be intimate with Thomas. When she climbed onto the bed next to him, she realized that Thomas had already fallen into a deep sleep. Her desire wasn't satisfied, and she felt disappointed. The next day at work, Pippa complained to her friend Ari about Thomas and also mentioned the peeping incident. Ari didn't think it was wrong. She said it was perfectly fine to watch and that the neighbors probably enjoyed being seen. Like exhibitionists, if they wanted privacy, they would close the curtains. Pippa didn't respond, but in her mind she was already thinking about the next step. Pippa worked at an eye clinic. Every day she performed laser vision correction surgeries, helped clients with glasses, and did checkups. But the part she enjoyed most was watching the neighbors together with Thomas. The neighbors weren't only attractive, their daily life also looked luxurious. The Nan, Seb, was a photographer. He spent his days taking photos of models. His girlfriend, Julia, seemed to spend most of her time playing with expensive things. Pippa and Thomas never saw her working or leaving the apartment for a job. One evening while they were watching, something unexpected happened. Seb looked like he was choking on food and struggling to breathe. Pippa panicked, but Julia was still listening to music, unaware. Pippa told Thomas to go and help Seb, but knocking on their door would expose the fact that they had been watching. While they hesitated, Julia finally noticed what was happening and saved Seb in time. Pippa and Thomas felt as if they had been part of the rescue, and they celebrated Seb's survival from their side of the window. Later that night, Pippa went to get a glass of water. She saw Julia leaving for a trip. Seb leaned against the window and waved goodbye to her, which gave Pippa the chance to observe him closely. She stared at his sculpted appearance and started having thoughts she didn't want to admit. The next day, Pippa went to a second-hand store and bought a telescope. That night, she and Thomas sat on the couch and spied on Seb together. Soon, a guest arrived at Seb's apartment. They moved to the photo shoot area. Seb took off his clothes first, and then the woman removed her top. Watching them in this situation made Pippa and Thomas curious about what would happen next. As expected, Seb and the woman started being intimate. The excitement of spying made Pippa and Thomas aroused as well. Pippa got closer to Thomas and unfastened his belt. After a while, she became impatient, watching through the telescope and asking Thomas to copy the same moves Seb was doing, but Thomas couldn't keep up for long. On the surface, Pippa didn't say much, but her eyes showed envy while watching Seb. She wasn't satisfied with her own relationship. The next day, she discussed with Ari how they might take things further. She even said she wished they could hear what Seb and Julia were saying to each other. Pippa didn't know that Thomas had experience in this area. Back in college, he had built a homemade listening device to spy on a girl he liked. From the sounds of laughter and moaning he heard, he discovered that the girl and her roommate were actually fooling around with another guy. Thomas worried that Pippa might judge him after their friends revealed this to her, but she didn't seem to care about his past. She only asked how the device worked. When they got home, Thomas immediately started setting up equipment. He used a laser to pick up vibrations on Seb's window, so they could hear what was being said inside. For this, they needed a reflective point on the window to bounce the laser signal back. That wasn't easy to achieve.
Halloween was coming and Seb was preparing for a party. Pippa and Thomas disguised themselves and slipped into Seb's place to secretly attach a reflective mirror. But as soon as they got inside, Seb picked Pippa up, thinking she was part of the party. Thomas rushed after them. Seb seemed disappointed when he realized she was already taken, but he still helped them pose for photos before leaving. The brief physical contact left Pippa a little dazed. They didn't forget their goal. With Thomas distracting others, Pippa managed to stick the reflective mirror in place. Back home, they quickly set up the device. After some adjustments, they finally started hearing Seb and Julia's voices. Through the recording, they heard Julia accusing Seb of being unfaithful. Seb didn't want to argue because all of Julia's expenses depended on him. He was the one in control of the relationship, and whenever he threatened her, Julia became quiet. Seb asked if she wanted a divorce. Julia panicked and said she didn't. She promised to try harder and begged him not to leave her. He demanded that she change, asking her over and over if she would. Julia said yes. He pressed her further, asking if she had caught him with another woman. She said no. He asked if she thought someone had been pleasuring him. She said no. Finally, she admitted that she still loved him. Then Seb smashed Julia's glasses in anger, and she didn't dare resist anymore. Pippa felt sympathy for Julia. Even while she was at work, she couldn't stop thinking about her. Coincidentally, Julia came into the clinic to get a new pair of glasses, and Pippa was the one who helped her. During the eye exam, Pippa wanted to tell Julia the truth about Seb's behavior, but spying wasn't exactly something she could confess. She held back. While choosing frames, Pippa complimented Julia at the right moment, which made Julia laugh and relax. They chatted, and by the end they had become friends. Julia even invited Pippa out, which surprised her. Though the invitation was sudden, Pippa agreed. Julia asked for her number, and they exchanged contacts. Meanwhile, Seb was at home taking photos again. He smoothly held his model, then pushed her down with practice ease. Watching this, Thomas sighed at how effortless Seb's actions seemed. That evening, Pippa and Thomas shared everything they had seen and heard. But when Seb once again cheated behind Julia's back, Pippa decided she had to tell Julia the truth. Thomas tried to stop her, saying it wasn't their business, but Pippa refused to back down. Frustrated, Thomas went downstairs to drink and calm his nerves. Even though Pippa and Thomas had a big argument, she couldn't resist her desire to keep watching. Julia put on a beautiful nightwear to apologize for the unpleasant night before. But Seb, who had worked overtime that day, had no interest and brushed her off coldly. Pippa felt sorry for Julia when she saw her disappointment. Later, Pippa and Julia went together to a spa as planned. Pippa didn't say anything directly, but she hinted carefully. She said it was like being so obsessed with something that you forget to look around and realize how deeply trapped you've become. From Julia's words, Pippa learned that the man's name was Seb and that he was a well-known photographer. She explained that they had met through work. She said they might have slept together after a photo shoot. Usually she was just another woman men treated like a passing experience, but she believed Seb truly loved her. Hearing this, Pippa thought it was ridiculous, yet she felt even more sympathy for Julia. One day, Pippa caught an opportunity. Seb tossed a used condom into the trash after being with another woman. She waited until he fell asleep, then connected their laser device to Julia's printer. After hesitating, she sent Julia a message. When Julia heard the noise from the printer, she went to check. Shocked, she looked out the window but assumed it was a prank. Pippa then sent the exact location of the condom. Thomas suddenly appeared and thought Pippa was acting like a creep. Pippa ignored him and kept watching. Julia found the condom where the message said it would be. Completely broken, she grabbed a knife and moved towards Seb. Pippa and Thomas froze in fear. Fortunately, Julia didn't do anything stupid. She collapsed in the bathroom instead, devastated.
The scene frightened both Pippa and Thomas. Thomas couldn't accept Pippa's actions and smashed the telescope on the floor, shouting in anger. Pippa slept on the couch that night. In the morning, Thomas handed her a cup of coffee as a gesture of peace. They promised each other they would never spy again. Holding each other, they tried to reconcile. But Pippa's eyes still drifted toward the window. She noticed something strange. Julia has died. Pippa was filled with guilt, while Thomas completely broke down. He said he couldn't stay and needed to leave. Pippa begged him not to go, but he refused. She told him she needed him, but he pushed her away, saying she had caused Julia's death. He said he didn't even know her anymore, and their relationship was over. Pippa believed she had done the right thing, but her actions had caused someone's death, and even her boyfriend left her. Alone on the bed, regret consumed her. Yet she still couldn't resist looking toward Seb. Seb drowned himself in alcohol every day, and Pippa thought she saw a reflection of herself in him. She began to believe that maybe the only way to save both of their lonely souls was to be together. Seb went to a bar. Pippa followed him, sensing her chance. She didn't sit beside him, but watched from a distance. Seb noticed her gaze. Just one look between them was enough for Seb to sit down next to her. He said he would move when her date showed up. She told him she didn't mind. His way of starting a conversation surprised Pippa. Then he asked his usual question, "Would it be strange if I asked to take some pictures of you?" Pippa followed Seb upstairs. Seb casually grabbed a key from the mailbox and let her into his studio. He placed her in the photo area and snapped a few shots before guiding her step by step. He asked what her bra looked like, then explained that he worked with models every day, so he forgot what was considered unusual. He told her it was fine if she wasn't comfortable. Pippa already knew this process well, but she pretended not to and played along. After some back and forth, they both threw their shirts aside and Seb captured the moment with his camera. They then became intimate. At the same time, Thomas arrived at the apartment with flowers, ready to apologize, but he couldn't find Pippa. He opened a drink and noticed the taste was strange. He poured it into the birdcage. Suddenly, a green light flashed from the opposite apartment. Curious, he took out the telescope. What he saw shocked him deeply. The next morning, Pippa woke up. Seb had already put on his clothes and left without fuss. She got dressed and returned home. The door was slightly open, which made her cautious. When she pushed it, a bouquet of flowers fell to the floor. She looked up and saw a pair of familiar shoes hanging in the air. From the beginning, Pippa had always looked for ways to satisfy her desire. Buying a telescope when she couldn't see, building a listening device when she couldn't hear, sending a message when she couldn't stand it, and finally involving herself in person. But such reckless choices only led her into someone else's trap. Weeks later, Seb's photo exhibition was held as planned. Pippa dressed up heavily, ready to reconnect with him. She praised the show and told him it looked amazing. Seb responded with cold indifference. For the first time, she saw his true self. Seb went on stage to introduce his work. He gave special thanks to his wife, calling her his partner and the love of his life. He invited her up on stage. Pippa was stunned as Julia walked onto the stage. Julia said she wanted to thank a special partner, a sweet young woman named Pippa. Pippa's private photos were displayed at the very center of the exhibition. The theme of the show was voyeurism. What Pippa thought was hidden was in fact a trap that Seb and Julia had planned in advance.
Seb explained that when Pippa and her boyfriend Thomas first moved in together, everything looked bright. Life was good. But then they got distracted by strangers across the street. They cared more about other people's lives than their own. What started as a small hobby soon became an obsession. He revealed how they crashed his Halloween party and planted a microphone to listen secretly to his conversations, which was completely illegal. Still, Pippa thought she was doing the right thing. First, she broke them emotionally, then she destroyed their relationship forever. What Pippa didn't realize was that while she and Thomas were watching Seb and Julia were also watching them. Pippa had been completely tricked, but she still refused to give up. She grabbed a key from the mailbox and searched until she found an attic. Inside, she discovered professional equipment and walls full of photos of herself and Thomas. She couldn't hold back anymore. She cried loudly and smashed the equipment in a rage, but it was useless. Her privacy was gone, her boyfriend lost his life, and she had no way to protect herself. She had already clicked agree on a computer pop-up without noticing. That meant there was a contract allowing Seb and Julia to show their exhibition nationwide. While inside, she also noticed her own birdcage. Many of her birds had died, and that's when she realized something was wrong. Seb and Julia later returned home. They opened a gift waiting by the door. It was Seb's favorite wine sent from the gallery. Without thinking much, they drank it. Suddenly, the printer in their home started making noise. She sent them a message telling them that she knew they were behind her husband's death. They searched and quickly tracked Pippa's location. They chased her all the way to the eye clinic where she worked, finally trapping her inside a room. They accused her harshly. Pippa cried out that when she watched them, she believed every moment was real. But after Thomas died, she began to suspect Seb had drugged him and made it look like he took a drastic step. Seb called it a wild theory and asked if she had proof. For a moment, they both felt relieved, not realizing they had already fallen into Pippa's trap. Julia suddenly felt sick and collapsed to the ground. Pippa wiped her tears and faced Seb. Seb shouted, "What did you do?" Pippa told him the wine was her little gift and that because he weighed more, it would take longer to work. She told him to look at her one last time because it was the last thing he would ever see. She aimed a laser device directly at their eyes and turned it to full power. Later, new tenants moved into the apartment. They too noticed the neighbors across the street, but their eyes were empty and lifeless. The woman finally put down the binoculars.